If you're looking for best mercenary build to blast through campaign in Path of Exile 2 The Third Edict, here it is. But if you never played crossbow, let's run over basic crossbow mechanics. Most crossbow skills is ammunition, and they not like your basic skills for other weapons. You can't just press a button and cast the skills. Instead, you loading different ammunition type in your crossbow, and your basic crossbow shot will be transformed into this ammunition type. So I'm using these buttons to change ammunition, and it's instantly changing my basic shot. That's one type of ammunition, that's second type of ammunition. Every ammunition will have loaded bolts. So for this skill it's 7 bolts, I will shoot bunch of them. And what if I need to reload? Well, there's actually separate reload button. There's reload crossbow button, but it's not needed because you can just press the same skill and it will reload it instantly. There's also separate action which called cycle crossbow ammo, and it's cool, but it's not really useful because it also cycles through basic bolt, and basic bolt is something you never use after like level 5 or so. Now the biggest problem. When you reload different types of ammunition, well, it takes some time. So to set up some combinations, you probably won't have loads of time if you want to shock enemies with this skill and then, for example, use this skill to blow them up. But what if you want to also freeze enemies? Well, there is a solution to use 2 crossbows with your 2 weapon sets. Yeah, in this game there's weapon sets, and in 0.3 there will be no downtime when you change weapons. However, you need to set up them correctly. Here how it works. If you load, for example, permafrost bolts and you want to use your second crossbow as your ice crossbow, and you will use the skill, nothing changes. You still will fire these rounds. Well, that's because we got 2 crossbow shots right now. There's crossbow shot 1 and crossbow shot 2. Now I'm making sure that in my skill options, all my skills that I want to use on crossbow 1 set to weapon set 1, and skills that I want to use on second crossbow set to only second crossbow use. And now I will shoot with this ice crossbow. But how to get back to my previous lightning crossbow? Well, instead of binding ice skill over here, I will bind crossbow shot number 2 in this slot and crossbow shot number 1 in this slot. This kinda limits available ammunition for second crossbow, or you will just need to use a lot more buttons. But I will use second crossbow only for 1 skill, therefore on second weapon set I'm loading permafrost bolts, and now every time I'm using this skill it actually instantly switches the crossbow, shoots ice. When I need to shoot lightning, I just press shoot lightning button and that's it. Hope it makes sense. Let's go to our leveling. After leaving tutorial area, you will be able to create bunch of skills from uncut skill gems, and that skill gems we will be using at level 1. First one is permafrost bolts. You will load icy bolt that fragment in flight, damaging enemies in a small cone. It will load only 1 bolt in your clip, and it's not doing like insane amount of damage. It's just 20% of base damage. But it converts all physical damage to cold damage, it knocks back enemies, and it got insanely good freeze build up. Also, don't worry about attack damage, because it's attack damage per projectile, per fragment basically. And this skill will fire 10 fragments. So technically, right from the get-go, you get almost 200% of base damage. That's why crossbow skills is insanely OP. And it's nice to know that multiple fragments can hit the same target. So basically when you're fighting bosses, you actually want to stay as close as possible to them to inflict 200% or even more damage with your basic crossbow skill. And considering freeze build up, this skill is really easy to freeze enemies. While the skill is pretty useful even to just clear down enemies, it's only our setup skill. You're not starting game with insanely OP crossbow, and if you're not lucky, you will have mediocre crossbow at the first stage, as the first act basic. Therefore, we need some combination to defeat even powerful monsters. I'm not talking about bosses yet, but we got a nice solution. It will be fragmentation rounds. They also got buffed in 0.3, so you see in tooltip from 0.2 right now, but they got buffed already. There's just no source to get nice screenshots. Basically, fragmentation rounds works exactly the same. You load 1 bolt and you shoot your shotgun technically. It will knock back enemies, it cannot freeze, but it will consume freeze on hit. So you see where a combo is going. Basically, we freeze enemies with our ice strike, and then we use these fragmentation rounds to consume freeze on hit. Again, it fires 10 fragments, so so you can stand close and basically destroy enemies. And while damage itself is pretty good, the damage that is dealt when you consume freeze is just insane. But at the same time, the skill got insane buff in 0.3, so now you not only consume freeze on one enemy, you consume and blow him up, so he will deal extra damage in a cone, and it instantly helps our clearing speed, so that's pretty good one. Also in Act 1 you will find bunch of support gems, and that's how we can enhance the skills. The first one is double barrel. Keep in mind, these skills, support gems, can change namings in 0.3, but they all will be in the game. Double barrel stays, but it will be double barrel 1, and it can be upgraded later on in the game. So what it does, it basically loads extra round in your clip with a penalty to your reloading speed, and we want this on our ice strike, ice shot basically. So after we use double barrel, now we had 2 bolts, therefore we will inflict more ice build up a lot faster, so it's just a nice addition to our skill basically. The second support gem is Mercenary Tempo. It will increase our attack speed. Again, name changed, so it sounds like swift attacks or something like this. You just need to search when you're looking for support gems, and actually let me show you this. So first of all, there is show recommended gems tick over here. You need to uncheck it to find correct skills, because you not see all skills instantly. You not even get double barrel recommended on permafrost bolts, but just untick this stuff and you will find it. You will see everything you can apply, and double barrel is one of them. And Martial Tempo is of course 2. And if you're playing on controller like me, there is a button. It will be X on Xbox and square on PlayStation. Attack speed actually is nice quality of life skill, and you may use this, or if you enjoy this slow shotgun style, just go for any damaging support gems. For example, you may load Brutality on your fragmentation rounds for more physical damage. Right now you're dealing mostly physical damage with the skill. And another one I like is Leverage. So Leverage will increase critical hit chance against immobilized enemies. And while I strongly against any critical hit chance when you're leveling, critical hit chance, critical hit damage is just insane when you got powerful equipment in mapping, so basically it's like late game stuff, but at leveling it's just no for me. But Leverage for this skill is really good, because you always will use it on frozen enemies most of the time, so they immobilized, and you will have nice increased critical hit chance, and when it works it just melts bosses in a second. So if you hit a critical strike, it's like quadruple damage. With the buffs to our skills, we probably will have enough clearing speed. However, there's one more skill gem you can craft in Act 1 before you unlock next skill gems of higher levels, and it's Contagion. Contagion is a cool skill, and it basically placed on monster, and monster will start losing health a little bit, but when you defeat this monster, this curse dot effect transforms onto next monsters nearby with double power. So basically it's nice clearing speed spell. Really recommend using it. It will help you clear high density areas a lot faster, especially Red Veil, and that's where you unlock level 3 skills. The first one and only one basically that we're crafting as level 3 skill is Explosive Grenade. I hate grenades, so that's what I'm talking to you. I will probably try to make something with grenades in upcoming patch, but I mostly like play crossbow mercenary. But when we're leveling, we need to pick everything that will help us clear out our monsters and powerful bosses, and explosive grenade is the choice. So how grenades work? So you basically throw grenade, it will have detonation time. This grenade got 3-second detonation time. After it expires, it will blow up. It will convert your damage to fire damage, so it may burn enemy, ignite them, and there is nice explosive radius. However, 3 seconds in timings of Path of Exile 2 is a life basic. It's just so much time and big opportunity window for monsters to ambush you and destroy you before they will be exploded. Therefore, most important support gem for our explosion skill is Expedite. Expedite is just must have. It will have 40% less detonation time. This means our skill will detonate in 1.6 seconds or something like this. So that's must have. Another must have skill is Scatter Shot. Not skill, it's support gem for grenades, of course. Instead of throwing 1 grenade, you will throw 3 grenades, because it will give you 2 additional projectiles at the cost of less damage. 35% less damage, but 3 projectiles with technically 65% damage is actually 180% damage, like total. It will have also less attack speed, so technically it's more or less on the same level, but again, covering more area is just insanely viable for us, and you want to use the skill, because throwing one grenade, running around, it just misses targets all the time. Scatter shot is super important. Now, how we use these grenades? Well, we're basically trying to freeze bosses. When boss is frozen, we throw few grenades, and then we detonate boss with our fragmentation round. So that's the combo. Boss will take increased damage because we're consuming freeze on him, and also added damage from our explosive grenades. Now, when you advance through the game, you will find a village of Return. This village will contain boss, and this boss will drop you spirit gem. Now we got two options. So, option number one is to instantly craft Herald of Ice. While active, it's buff that will consume spirit. So basically you got plus 30 spirit right now, and you can instantly use this reservation skill. While active, it will shatter enemies with non-herald attack hit, causing attack damage to surrounding enemies. So now you don't need to ever switch to fragmentation rounds when you clearing basic monsters, not bosses. You just run around, you shoot your ice bullets, and when enemy is frozen, you shoot him with ice strike again, he will be blown up and deal damage around himself. It kinda makes easier clearing speed, especially for now. You may even infuse it with Cold Infusion support gem for more ice damage, but also you may use Magnified Effect for more area of effect. However, I would stay away from this idea, because Spirit support gems is super rare, and there's high chance you may not find it until Act 3, where you will get extra spirit again, and you will get new support gem, Spirit support gem. Therefore, I recommend you sticking with the plan right now and actually crafting Herald of Thunder. We will need it for clearing Act 2, and it will speed up our clearing like insanely insane. How it works? Basically, whenever you kill shocked target, you will gain buff. This buff will give you extra attack damage on your upcoming hits, like 2 or 3 attacks. Basically, whenever you hit enemies after you kill shock enemy, it will also add big lightning on top of them. To increase damage, we will use concentrated effect on this or any other increased damaging skills. Support gems, support gem. Anyway, there will be no use for this spirit buff for now, so we don't care a lot. But we're approaching last boss of the first act, and we will unlock level 5 skill. So level 5 skill is the thing that will help us clearing bosses for now especially, and we need to be smart about this. You will get level 5 skill after you defeat Executioner and talk with the lady in town. She will give you uncut skill gem. And to completely blast through campaign from now on, you want to craft gas grenade. So gas grenade is poison grenade. You will throw it, it will detonate. After it detonates, it will spread poison cloud, and enemies will start taking damage. However, if you add any burning effect, this poison cloud will explode and deal extra damage as fire damage. The damage is actually insane. And while you may use exactly the same support gems on this skill as on other grenade, scatter shot basically, and faster detonation time, I recommend to use corrosion instead. Corrosion is super good. Poison applied by this skill will also break armor, and that's extremely good, especially for campaign, while we're doing most of our damage as physical damage, especially with combination of freezing enemy and then destroying him with fragmentation round. This will also increase our fragmentation round damage by a lot. The second supportive gem can be scatter shot, but it also can be, for example, bursting plague. So you may use these grenades and just clear out some basic monsters pretty fast. The biggest combination, of course, is to drop a bunch of these grenades and then blow them up with fire grenade. It will blow up all poison clouds, it will deal insane amount of damage, and you basically will melt bosses. Now let's take a look at our passive skill tree at the end of Act 1. So here it is. Basically, if you want to go through campaign nicely and without any problems, all you need to do is to just invest in damaging nodes. That's it. You don't want to have any protection nodes and stuff like that before you hit Act 3, and even then better just focus on damaging node. So Act 1, we just go with projectile damage over here and increased stun build up to enemies who is nearby. It's also very nice against bosses since we want to come close. Then more projectile damage over here with chance to ricochet from terrain of our projectiles, and then we instantly go over here in this node, and that's super big damage increase. It will increase damage with two-handed weapons, and if you don't know, well, crossbow is two-handed weapon. At the end we will get overwhelm that will increase damage with two-handed weapons by 40%, but will reduce attack speed a little bit, but will increase stun build up. It's definitely definitely worth it. There's also nodes to the right and left over here that will give you increased area of effect and increased accuracy rating, and also plus 10 strength and plus 10 dexterity. Definitely worth it, especially if you're not hitting enough threshold for your skills. Another road that you may want to take is over here to the right, bunch of attribute points followed by projectile damage and followed by increased projectile stun build up and increased projectile damage. You don't want this in the late game, but when you're leveling, when you're defeating bosses, basically we got almost 100% or even more increased damage right now. Let me actually check. It's 100% increased damage with two-handed weapons and 146% increased projectile damage. So technically we got 250% increased damage in the end of Act 1 with crazy skills that basically demolish enemies in one shot. So Mercenary definitely don't having any hard time. But when you jump into Act 2, monster density will be a lot higher, they will be a lot faster, they will be annoying, but we will finally unlock our main skill for this leveling guide. Well, a lot of people think this skill is dead, but it's not, it's actually got nice buff, it just changed. So galvanic shards. Previously it got 5 loaded bolts per clip, but in the recent patch in 0.3 they will have only 1 bolt per clip. So it's a nerf, yeah? Well, not, because normally in this patch in 0.2 they got less reload speed, but in 0.3 we will not have this penalty, so we will reload our crossbow pretty fast. And damage buffed almost by 100%, so we're dealing almost like 2 times more damage right now, because this skill is super amazing. It's not doing insane amount of damage with rounds, but every time it hits enemies it also fires lightning projectile, lightning beam between of them. While its beam, it still scales with your projectile damage, so don't worry, everything works. And this skill is everything we need for clearing enemies. You may drop martial tempo on top to increase attack speed, but another option is lightning infusion, which will give you more damage as extra lightning damage. Another option is inner weight. Whenever you kill a shocked enemy, you will gain 35% of damage as lightning damage, and that's just big clearing speed buffs for us. So that's great support gems. Now the deal. Basically, shocking enemies is great because whenever you shock enemy, he will start to take extra damage. And now it's up to you how you want to play, but basically you're going around and clearing basic mobs only with this skill. So this skill, just equip it, run around and shoot everyone. With Herald of Thunder, you will just clear basic mobs without even noticing them. But against bosses, we still need to use our combination. So while we're using this skill, you may even use it against boss, but after you inflict shock to him, start using ice rounds, freeze him, then double grenade combination, and then fragmentation round. So our combination against bosses still will work the same until we reach end of Act 3. By the end of Act 3, we will unlock new skill. We just need a little bit higher level. This skill will be shock burst rounds. And normally they're doing almost no damage. You will just try to use it, you will see you're doing basically 0 damage, and probably you instantly want to uninstall this game or just delete the skill. But the skill is insanely overpowered. To use it correctly, you just need to shock your enemy. So you see where I'm going. Basically, you will use your galvanic shards to shock enemies and then switch to shock burst rounds, and this will create pulse. Basically 100% of physical damage will be converted to lightning damage, and with every round you will just blow enemy up with insane amount of damage. You just melt bosses at this point. So from this point, actually, when you unlock shock burst rounds, just make sure you're dropping bunch of extra damage on top, like concentrated effect for more area damage, and you want to scale it with lightning damage and area of effect damage, because main damage source is pulse, not our projectile. And every tooltip that will say more damage is what you need. Not increased, but more damage. More is multiplicative, multiplier basically for your damage. So primal ornament will work, and basically you created monsters that completely clears all campaign with just 2 skills. You no longer need grenades, you no longer need ice and fragmentation round combination, but you still may use it. I would use actually grenades still, but ice and fragmentation rounds can be unequipped. I'm playing this mercenary from the start of the season. I will be streaming on Spot the King channel. Right now you're on Spot the King 2 with Path of Exile 2 specific guides, and also I will be posting updated mercenary builds when I move on in this league. However, if you want, you may check my old build. It's basically something that I'm going in from the start, and video is over here on the screen right now. Subscribe and see you in the next one.